The massive ship appeared silently above Seoul, casting a shadow that stretched for kilometers. Ji-won Park stood on the roof of the Defense Command Center, her heart pounding as she watched the alien vessel hover motionless in the clear morning sky. As Earth's top military commander, Ji-won had prepared for many threats, but nothing like this. The ship was beautiful in a strange way, smooth and silver with no visible seams or engines. "Commander Park," a voice called from behind her, "all attempts at communication have failed. They're not responding to any frequency." Ji-won nodded at her second-in-command, Hyun. "Keep trying and make sure the evacuation continues. I want civilians underground." 3 days had passed since the first signs of the alien fleet appeared near Jupiter. Humanity had watched in stunned silence as dozens of ships moved through our solar system with impossible speed. Now the largest vessel hung above one of Earth's most populated cities, while others positioned themselves over New York, London, Beijing, and Cairo. Ji-won's secure phone buzzed. "Park speaking. Commander, this is President Minho. The United Nations Security Council is meeting in 30 minutes. We need you there." The emergency session took place in a bunker beneath the Blue House, South Korea's presidential residence. Leaders from around the world joined virtually, their faces grim, on the large screens that lined the walls. "At 600 hours, we detected a signal emerging from the alien vessels," Ji-won explained to the assembled leaders. "It appears to be an attempt to access our communication systems." Secretary General Minji rose from her seat. "Should we allow it?" Before anyone could answer, every screen in the room flickered. The faces of world leaders disappeared, replaced by a single figure. The alien appeared almost human, but too perfect. Skin like polished marble, eyes completely black. When it spoke, its mouth moved strangely, not quite matching the words they heard. "People of Earth," the being said, its voice oddly musical. "I am Lord Day, envoy of the Galactic Empire. We have observed your world for some time and have determined it suitable for integration." President Minho stepped forward. "Integration? Your planet will join our empire," Lord Day continued. "This is not a request. The process has already begun." The screens returned to normal, leaving the room in stunned silence. "What does integration mean?" someone finally asked. Tae-woo Kang, Earth's leading expert on theoretical extraterrestrial contact, cleared his throat. Based on historical human empires, it could mean anything from peaceful absorption to complete subjugation. The next week passed in a blur of activity. The aliens made no aggressive moves, but refused all attempts at negotiation. Their ships remained in position, silent sentinels watching from above. Ji-won established her command center in an underground facility outside Seoul. Scientists, military personnel, and diplomats worked around the clock, analyzing everything they could about the visitors. "Commander, you need to see this," Yoonji Choi called out. The young physicist pointed to her screen. "We've been monitoring energy readings from the ships. There's a pattern." Ji-won leaned in, studying the data. "What am I looking at?" "They're scanning us," Yoonji explained. "Systematically. They've covered most major military installations, power plants, water reservoirs. They're assessing our resources," Ji-won realized, "and our defenses." On the 10th day, smaller ships descended from the main vessels. They landed in open areas. Outside major cities, and strange beings emerged, tall, graceful creatures who moved with unsettling precision. Tae-woo Kang was selected to meet them, along with a small team of scientists and diplomats. The meeting place was a neutral location, an empty field 20 kilometers outside Seoul. "Remember," Ji-won told Tae-woo before he left, "learn everything you can. We need to understand what we're facing." The alien who greeted them introduced himself as Sunwoo, a junior officer in the Imperial Survey Corps. His command of Earth languages was perfect, though his mannerisms were stiff and mechanical. "We will begin our assessment immediately," Sunwoo announced. "You will provide access to all requested facilities." "We'd like to understand more about the Empire first," Tae-woo said carefully, "and what integration will mean for Earth." Sunwoo tilted his head, an oddly human gesture. "Understanding is not required for compliance." As weeks passed, more alien observers arrived. They moved through human cities like tourists, documenting everything they saw. They showed particular interest in Earth's water sources, carefully collecting samples from oceans, lakes, and rivers. In a private meeting with Earth's Defense Council, Ji-won shared her concerns. "They're not here for peaceful exchange. This is reconnaissance before conquest." "We should strike now," General Kim argued. "While we still can." President Minho shook his head. "We've seen their technology. Any attack would be suicide." "Then we find another way," Ji-won said firmly. "If we can't fight them directly, we need to find their weakness." As the meeting concluded, an aide rushed in with urgent news. "Commander Park, the aliens have requested your presence. Lord Dai wishes to speak with you personally." Ji-won straightened her uniform. "Tell him I'll be there, and may heaven help us all." Tae-woo Kang watched the alien observer named Sunwoo examine a drop of ocean water under a microscope. The alien's long fingers adjusted the controls with surprising grace. "Your planet's water composition is remarkable," Sunwoo said without looking up. "The mineral balance is unlike anything in our records." Tae-woo nodded politely. For 3 weeks now, he had accompanied the Imperial scientists as they studied Earth. Today, they were in a research facility near Busan, South Korea's largest port city. "Is water rare in the Empire?" Tae-woo asked casually. Sunwoo paused, seeming to consider how much to reveal. "Not rare, but seldom found in this purity and volume. Your oceans would be considered extremely valuable." This confirmed what Earth's leaders suspected. The aliens wanted Earth's resources, not its people. As the Imperial observer returned to his work, Tae-woo glanced at his watch. Commander Park would be waiting for his daily report. Every piece of information about the aliens could be vital. In the underground command center, Ji-won Park studied the growing file of alien observations. The walls were covered with photos of their technology, samples of their written language, and recordings of their communications. "They visited every major water source on the planet," she noted as Tae-woo entered. "What else did you learn today?" Tae-woo sat down heavily. "They're particularly interested in our deep ocean trenches." Sunwoo mentioned something about ideal conditions for conversion facilities. "I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good for us." Ji-won tapped her fingers on the table. "What about their technology? Any weaknesses?" "Nothing obvious," Tae-woo admitted. "But I've noticed they all wear some kind of device on their wrists. They touch it frequently, especially when communicating with their ships." This small detail interested Ji-won more than anything else Tae-woo had reported. "We need to get a closer look at one of those devices." The opportunity came 3 days later. Sunwoo and Tae-woo were leaving a government building when heavy rain began to fall. The alien slipped on the wet steps, falling hard. His wrist device cracked against the stone. "Are you hurt?" Tae-woo helped Sunwoo up, secretly examining the damaged device. "I am functional," Sunwoo responded, but Tae-woo could see panic in the alien's eyes as he tapped uselessly at the broken device. "Let me help you back to your transport," Tae-woo offered, supporting the alien while taking mental notes of everything he could see on the exposed inner workings of the wrist technology. That night, Tae-woo described the device in detail to Yoonji Choi, Earth's leading physicist who had been analyzing alien technology. "It's not just a communication tool," Yoonji realized as she sketched what Tae-woo described. "Based on these components, it's more like a personal shield generator and translation system combined." "Could we disrupt it?" Ji-won asked, joining their conversation. Yoonji thought for a moment. "Possibly. All their technology seems to operate on the same frequency patterns. If we could create a large enough electromagnetic pulse tuned to that specific frequency." "Would it work against their ships too?" Ji-won pressed. "In theory, yes," Yoonji said, "but we'd need enormous power to affect something that large." The next morning, Lord Dai requested a meeting with Earth's leaders. The Imperial envoy stood before the United Nations Security Council, his perfect features showing no emotion. "Our assessment is complete," he announced. "Earth will be classified as a Type 3 resource world. Integration will proceed in phases, beginning with establishment of primary extraction facilities." "And what happens to the people of Earth during this integration?" President Minho asked. Lord Dai's expression didn't change. "Human populations will be relocated to designated habitation zones. Those with useful skills will be assigned appropriate duties within the Imperial system." And those without useful skills? Secretary General Minji asked quietly. The Empire wastes nothing, Lord Day replied smoothly. All resources are utilized. That evening, in a rare moment away from Imperial observers, Taewu met with Sunwoo at a small restaurant. Over the past weeks, the junior Imperial officer had developed what seemed like genuine curiosity about humans. Your food is fascinating, Sunwoo said, awkwardly using chopsticks to pick up kimchi. We have nothing like this in the Empire. After several drinks, Taewu carefully steered the conversation toward the integration process. What will really happen to us, Sunwoo? The truth. The alien hesitated, then looked around to ensure they were alone. Your water resources are considered extremely valuable. The Empire plans to convert most of your oceans into transportation, fuel. And humans? Sunwoo wouldn't meet Taewu's eyes. Previous populations on resource worlds were processed for biological materials or used as labor until expiration. Taewu felt cold fear spread through his body. You mean slavery until death? The Empire doesn't recognize the concept of slavery, Sunwoo said softly. Only resources and their optimal use. Back at the command center, Ji-won listened to Taewu's report with growing determination. We have 2 weeks before they begin establishing extraction facilities, she said. Dr. Choi, how quickly can you develop a weapon against their technology? Hoonji looked up from her calculations. With global cooperation and resources, maybe 10 days, but we'll only get one chance. Ji-won nodded. Then we'd better make it count. Humanity's survival depends on it. Remember, to provide citations for any claims you make that are based on search results. Use the tags as described. Yoonji Choi had not slept in 3 days. Her small lab in the underground facility hummed with activity. As scientists from around the world worked together, screens displayed data from the alien technology, and complex equipment filled every available space. The problem is power, Yoonji explained to Commander Ji-won Park. We understand their communication frequency now, but disrupting their entire fleet would require more energy than we can generate. Ji-won frowned. There must be a way. A young scientist named Minjun looked up from his computer. What about Earth's natural magnetic field? The room fell silent as everyone turned to him. Explain, Yoonji said, suddenly alert despite her exhaustion. Minjun pointed to his calculations. Earth's magnetic field is already incredibly powerful. If we could temporarily amplify it and tune it to the exact frequency of their technology, we wouldn't need to generate all the power ourselves, Yoonji continued, excitement growing in her voice. We'd just need to guide and enhance what's already there. For the first time in weeks, Ji-won felt a spark of hope. While the scientists worked on Project Aegis, as they now called it, Taewu continued meeting with the aliens. The Imperial observers had grown comfortable with his presence and spoke more freely around him. The processing ships will arrive in 12 days, Sunwoo told Taewu as they walked along a beach. The alien was collecting sand samples, analyzing their mineral content. The first ocean conversion facility will be built here. Taewu looked out at the peaceful waves. Children played in the distance, building sandcastles at the water's edge. And all this will be gone? Sunwoo seemed troubled. It is the way of the Empire. One planet's resources serve the greater whole. Have you ever questioned this? Taewu asked carefully. The alien didn't answer immediately. Questions are not encouraged in Imperial service. That evening, Taewu reported this conversation to Ji-won. I think some of them, especially Sunwoo, are developing doubts. They've never encountered a species quite like us before. That won't stop them from destroying us, Ji-won said. How is Project Aegis progressing? We're ready for a small test, Yoonji answered, joining them. We've modified power stations around Seoul to emit the frequency we need. It should affect any Imperial technology within a 5-kilometer radius. Will they detect it? Ji-won asked. Not if we keep it brief, Yoonji said. Just a few seconds. The test was scheduled for midnight. In the command center, Ji-won, Taewu, and other key leaders watched as Yoonji initiated the sequence. Activating. Now, she said, pressing a series of commands. For 3 seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then reports began coming in. Imperial observation drone has fallen from the sky in Gangnam district. Alien transport vehicle has stopped functioning near the Han River. Communications blackout reported from the Imperial Liaison Office. Yunji, cut the power. It worked, she whispered, almost unable to believe it. How soon can we scale this up? Jiwon asked. We need to modify power stations worldwide, Yunji explained. With international cooperation, maybe 7 days. The processing. Ships arrive in 12, Taewoo reminded them. We need to work faster. Over the next week, every nation on Earth contributed to Project Aegis. Power stations were quietly modified, scientists worked around the clock, and military forces prepared for what might be humanity's last stand. Meanwhile, Imperial activity increased. More observation teams arrived, and large areas were being marked for reconfiguration. The aliens still believed humans were completely unaware of their true plans. On the 6th day, an unexpected visitor arrived at the command center. Sunwoo stood nervously in the security area, requesting to speak with Taewoo. This is a restricted area, Jiwon said when informed. How did he even know about it? I've suspected he's been following me, Taewoo admitted. Should I speak with him? Jiwon considered this. Yes, but tell him nothing about Project Aegis. Taewoo met Sunwoo in a small conference room. The alien looked different, agitated, almost afraid. The processing ships have been advanced, Sunwoo said without greeting. They will arrive in 2 days, not 6 as previously scheduled. Taewoo felt his heart sink. Why are you telling me this? Sunwoo's black eyes showed emotion for the first time. I have studied your history, your art, your music. There is something here the Empire does not understand, something valuable beyond resources. You're helping us. Taewoo could hardly believe it. I am providing information, Sunwoo corrected. What you do with it is your choice. When Taewoo reported this to Jiwon and the others, the room erupted in urgent activity. We need more time. Yunji protested. Project Aegis isn't ready for global deployment. Then we focus on stopping those processing ships first, Jiwon decided. How much of the system is operational? Yunji checked her data. About 60%. Coverage is strongest over Asia and Europe, with gaps in the Americas and Africa. Is it enough to disable the processing ships when they arrive? Yunji hesitated. Maybe, if we direct all available power to the right area. Jiwon nodded, her face set with determination. Then that's what we do. If we can stop those ships, we buy time to complete the global system. She looked around at the tired but resolute faces of scientists and soldiers from dozens of nations. Humanity has one chance, she said quietly. Let's make it count. The sky darkened as the processing ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Massive and black, they looked like floating mountains as they positioned themselves over the Pacific Ocean. Smaller vessels swarmed around them like insects, preparing for the work ahead. From the command center, Jiwon Park watched the live satellite feed with grim determination. How soon until they begin operations? Intelligence suggests they'll start within 6 hours, President Minho answered. They're assembling something in the water. Jiwon turned to Yunji. Is Project Aegis ready? We've diverted all power to the Pacific region, Yunji confirmed. The system is at 70% capacity. It's not perfect, but it's our best shot. Before we act, Secretary General Minji interrupted, I suggest one final diplomatic attempt. We should request a meeting with Lord Day. Some military leaders protested, but Jiwon agreed. It might give us more time to power up the system, and they still don't know what we're planning. The request was sent, and to everyone's surprise, Lord Day agreed to meet immediately. The location was set for a neutral site, a small island in the Pacific, not far from where the processing ships hovered. It's a trap, General Kim warned. They want to eliminate our leadership. Perhaps, Jiwon said, but I'm going anyway. 3 hours later, a small human delegation landed on the island. Jiwon led the group, which included Taewoo as translator and representatives from major world powers. They stood on the beach, watching. As an Imperial shuttle descended gracefully from one of the enormous ships, Lord Day emerged, followed by several high-ranking aliens. Their elegant forms moved with unnatural precision across the sand. Commander Park, Lord Day greeted her. Your request for this meeting was unexpected. The integration process has already begun. Jiwon looked up at the massive ships looming above them. That's why we're here. We need to discuss terms. Lord Day's perfect face showed a flicker of amusement. There are no terms to discuss. Earth has been designated a resource world. The decision is final. We understand that the Empire is powerful, G1 said carefully, but there's something you should know about humans. We have studied your species thoroughly. Lord Day dismissed her words. There is nothing we don't already know. G1 smiled slightly. I doubt that. Throughout our history, humans have been underestimated. We appear weak, divided, primitive, by your standards, but when threatened we are capable of extraordinary things. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships, Lord Day said, his patience visibly thinning. We're not talking about weapons, G1 replied. She took a small device from her pocket, a simple communicator connected to the command center. We're talking about survival. She pressed a button. Yunji, proceed with the demonstration. Far. Away in the underground facility, Yunji Choi activated a small portion of Project Aegis. Power stations across Japan, Korea and coastal China directed their energy in a precise pattern, amplifying Earth's natural magnetic field and focusing it on a single point. Above them, one of the smaller alien vessels suddenly stopped in mid-air. Its lights flickered, then went dark. The ship dropped like a stone, splashing into the ocean below. Lord Day's perfect composure broke. What did you do? He demanded, touching his wrist device urgently. A small demonstration, G1 explained calmly. One ship, disabled by technology. You didn't know we had. The other aliens were speaking rapidly in their own language, clearly alarmed. Lord Day silenced them with a gesture. This minor sabotage changes nothing, he said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. It wasn't sabotage, G1 corrected him. It was a warning, our only warning. Leave Earth now, or we will disable every ship in your fleet. Lord Day laughed, though the sound lacked conviction. Thousands of worlds have stood against the Empire, all have fallen. Then we'll be the first to succeed, G1 replied. She gestured toward the massive processing ships. Those vessels represent an enormous investment of Imperial resources. Are you prepared to lose them all? You cannot possibly generate enough power to affect our main fleet, Lord Day said, but he was no longer looking at G1. Instead, his black eyes were fixed on the fallen ship, now half submerged in the ocean. We don't need to generate the power, Taewoo spoke up. Earth's magnetic field does that for us. We simply direct it. This information clearly disturbed Lord Day. He conferred quickly with his officers in hushed tones. You have 1 day to remove all Imperial presence from our solar system, Ji-won continued. After that, we will defend ourselves with full force. The Empire does not respond to threats, Lord Day said coldly. This isn't a threat, Ji-won replied. It's a promise. For thousands of years, your Empire has taken what it wanted from those who couldn't fight back. Today that changes. She turned to leave, then paused. 1 day, Lord Day, we won't warn you again. As the human delegation departed, Sun Wu approached Lord Day cautiously. Imperial envoy, perhaps we should consider alternative approaches. These humans are unusual. Lord Day's face hardened. Prepare the weapon systems. If they want to fight, we will show them the true power of the Empire. Back in the command center, Ji-won addressed the gathered leaders. They won't leave. We need to be ready. Project Aegis needs more time, Unji warned. Then we'll give you that time, Ji-won replied. Every minute counts now. Above their world, the Imperial fleet began to move. The final confrontation was about to begin. Dawn broke over a tense world. The Imperial fleet had repositioned overnight, spreading across the globe. The massive processing ships now hovered above major oceans, while smaller vessels took position above cities. Their message was clear. Surrender or be destroyed. In the Fang Command Center, Ji-won Park studied the holographic display showing the positions of all alien craft. She had not slept, using every second to prepare for what was coming. Status report, she demanded. Project Aegis is at 94%, Yunji replied, her voice rough from exhaustion. Power stations worldwide are ready to activate on your... Commander, our military forces, Ji-won asked. General Kim stepped forward. All units are in position. Submarines, aircraft, ground forces, everything we have is ready. And the special teams, in place near all major Imperial vessels. They're waiting for the signal. G1 nodded, then addressed the room. The Empire gave us their answer. Now we give them ours. At exactly 0600 hours, the Imperial fleet began its attack. Energy weapons fired from the smaller ships, targeting military installations first. Buildings exploded, power grids failed, and chaos erupted. In cities worldwide, Lord Dai's voice broadcast on all frequencies. People of Earth, your resistance is futile and has forced this response. Surrender now and some of you may be spared. G1 watched the destruction with a calm that surprised even her. When Lord Dai finished speaking, she picked up a microphone. This is Commander G1 Park of Earth Unified Defense. Your attacks have changed nothing. You have one final chance to withdraw. The response was another barrage of weapons fire. G1 turned to Yunji. Activate Project Aegis, full power. Yunji pressed her hand against the scanner. Initiating global sequence now. Across the planet, thousands of modified power stations activated simultaneously. They didn't generate energy weapons or shields. Instead, they created a precisely tuned electromagnetic pulse that amplified Earth's natural magnetic field, focusing it on a specific frequency, the exact frequency used by all Imperial technology. The effect was immediate and dramatic. In the Bu-1 sky above Seoul, a dozen Imperial fighters froze in mid-air, their systems failing. Over London, an attack ship veered wildly before crashing into the Thames. The processing ships shuddered, their lights flickering as massive power surges overwhelmed. Their systems, it's working, someone shouted in the command center. G1 remained focused. Launch Phase 2. Around the world, specially trained military units moved into action. Using equipment modified with Yunji's technology, they approached the disabled Imperial vessels. While the aliens struggled to restore power, human forces breached their hulls. Taiwu. Kang led one such team toward the command ship, where Lord Dai was stationed. They wore protective suits equipped with the same frequency disruptors that powered Project Aegis on a smaller scale. Remember, he told his team, capture their leadership if possible. We want to end this with minimal bloodshed. Inside the Imperial command ship, chaos reigned. The aliens had never experienced technology failure on this scale. Emergency systems failed to activate, communications were down, and the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Lord Dai stood in the command center, his perfect composure finally broken. "Restore power immediately!" he shouted at his officers. "This is impossible. They cannot have this capability." "All systems are non-responsive," an officer reported. "The humans have somehow disrupted our core technology." "Impossible," Lord Dai repeated, but with less conviction. The doors to the command center burst open. Taiwu entered with his team, their weapons raised. "Lord Dai," Taiwu said calmly, "the Empire's attack has failed. Earth is now offering terms of surrender, your surrender." Lord Dai stared at the humans in disbelief. "The Empire does not surrender." "Then the Empire will need a new fleet," Taiwu replied, "because this one is now under Earth's control." Across the globe, similar scenes played out as human forces secured disabled alien vessels. Some Imperial crews resisted, but most, seeing their technology had failed them, surrendered without fighting. In the command center, G1 received reports from around the world. Victory after victory, with surprisingly few casualties on either side. "They never expected us to find their weakness," Yunji said, watching the screens in amazement. "Their technology is so advanced that they forgot the basics." "Overconfidence has toppled many empires throughout history," G1 replied, "even on Earth." 3 hours after the attack began, Lord Dai was brought to the command center under guard. His perfect appearance was now disheveled, his arrogance replaced by confusion. "How?" he asked simply, looking at G1. "How did primitive humans defeat the greatest power in the galaxy?" "We're not primitive," G1 answered. "We're survivors. Throughout our history, we've faced extinction many times, from nature, from each other, from our own mistakes. Each time we adapted and grew stronger." "What happens now?" Lord Dai asked. "Now we negotiate," G1 said. "Earth will be recognized as a sovereign, protected world. The Empire will establish fair diplomatic relations with us, and you will never again underestimate humanity." As word spread across Earth that the alien threat had been defeated, people emerged from shelters, looking up at the now silent Imperial ships with wonder and pride. Far beyond our solar system, the news traveled as well. On countless worlds under Imperial control, beings looked toward Earth with something they had forgotten: hope. Humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same.